Okay, here we go again. Let's try this again. All right, so what I wanted to do, what I came in here to do, is to do an update to my previous video regarding whether or not JFK Jr. was still alive and whether or not he might in fact be Q. So in order to do that, I thought I'd come on, put some more pictures up on Facebook for you guys to follow kind of the thread of what I'm thinking and talking about, and we'll go kind of from there, and I'll record this, and then I'll do a thing where hi Tanner, we'll do a thing where we, actually I put it all together and upload it to YouTube, even though it's going to be in this terrible, ridiculous format for some reason. So I'm going to have to start doing videos that are not Facebook Live videos, so which is kind of a shame. So okay, so here's what I've got. It's been a really interesting few weeks. The first thing that happened was that the whole concept of Q came under this attack from the mainstream media, and that was led not just by the New York Times, the Washington Post. Everybody was posting all these anti-Q stories all over the web on a very consistent basis for about 2 or 3 weeks, but it was also people like Jack Posobiec, who works for Alex Jones, and other people were attacking and questioning the existence of Q. Posobiec actually posted what he claimed were chat logs from some guy named Microchip, who claimed that he was Q, that he was the guy who started Q, and I'm going to load this photo right here to Facebook. And the photo was actually, it was a photo of, there was somebody who went and dug into this Microchip guy. And so all Posobiec had was these chat logs. Now, first of all, somebody showed that chat logs can be edited. It was edited, the guy just did it right on there and said, give me a break on chat logs. They can be edited right on in the browser. And then they argued, well, no, they can be edited in the browser, but they can't be edited on the server. So there's no way that's real. And then somebody posted, and here's the image. I'm just putting it up on Facebook now in this thread that I'm creating. Somebody posted a tweet from this guy, Microchip, who's supposed to be some sort of super uber computer guy. And he actually posted, supposedly on September 14th, 2017, a story from Breitbart that was posted on September 16th, 2017. So he jumped 2 days in the future to post this. So obviously it was an altered Twitter, it was an altered tweet. Obviously, whoever this Microchip person is, they can, yes, I can turn up the volume. Obviously, whoever this Microchip person is, they can alter chat logs, they can alter tweets, there's all kinds of things. Anything can be edited online, everybody knows that. And, this is really interesting because this Posobiec guy is pretends to be a pro-Trumper, but actually is pretty negative a lot of the time. He's always telling people, oh, there's going to be a Democratic blue wave, which there's no evidence of that happening, of people really pushing for that. So these attacks on Q were coordinated. They even came from people inside the so-called MAGA community or MAGA community, Make America Great Again community, and that's really always makes me suspicious. It kind of got me, interested into where this was all coming from and what was going on, and I think it has a lot to do with the stories that came out about the possibility of this guy Vincent Fusca being JFK Jr., JFK Jr. being alive, and JFK Jr. possibly being behind some of the Q tweets, or Q posts on 4chan and 8chan. So anyway, by the way, I wanted to remind you to pick up my current book, Ancient Aliens and JFK. So that is now out. It should now be on Amazon Kindle and Amazon as a paperback book. Don't buy the Kindle, though, buy the paperback because I make more money off that, and Mike really wants to buy a Porsche, so please do that. So that information came out, and that was really kind of, interesting and bizarre, and it was in the same context that it was happening at the same time as the John McCain funeral. Now, the John McCain funeral was interesting because it went on and fucking on for day after day after day, wall-to-wall coverage on all the networks about what a fucking hero John McCain was. Well, John McCain was no hero. He was a traitor several times over. He was an opportunist. There are photographs of him spending and hanging out for his 70th birthday on the yacht of a Russian oligarch who's been involved in all of this Russian Uranium One scheming stuff, where he was banging young prostitutes. You know, such a wonderful guy. There's also a story where he actually called his wife, public story that was printed, when all these people, all these left-wingers are all, oh, John McCain, such a hero, such a great man, so much better than Trump. And, you know, there's actually a story that Huffington Post published in 2008 where he apparently called his wife in public a stupid cunt. That's the kind of guy John McCain was. So it's like, this attention that McCain got was the equivalent of what you would give to a president, not some senator who really didn't have all that much of an impact, and sure as shit wasn't much of a hero. But what's interesting is that other pictures begin to emerge of the funeral, and there were lots of things where you saw pictures of President Bush, George W. Bush, passing something to Michelle Obama. People said it was candy. I haven't really seen the video. I don't know that there's a lot of evidence that it was candy, but he passes her something the way you pass a note, and she opens it up. Oh no, there's no audiobooks, Patty. I'm sorry. And it was really weird because Q was at the same time posting, you know, look, what do these people do? They're under surveillance all the time. They have no safe spaces they can go to communicate. The walls are closing in on the bad guys. The walls are closing in on the cabal. And so they use this as an opportunity to meet and talk and try to coordinate and plan. And they're talking about Obama, Bush, the Clintons, you know, all these people that are involved in the deep state that are trying to take down President Trump and failing at it rather miserably. But, you know, I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting. But then another picture and video emerged where you could see Lindsey Graham. Now, the thing about Lindsey Graham, Republican senator, is that I hear that when Jeff Sessions gets fired, and no, I don't trust Sessions and I don't trust the plan, I want some shit to start happening, that he wants the Attorney General job, which I think would be a really bad idea for President Trump to do because Lindsey Graham seems to be up in his to his ears and all this stuff. There is a photograph and videotape, and I'm posting a picture right now, of Lindsey Graham at the McCain funeral, walking up to Huma Abedin, who of course is Hillary Clinton's right-hand girl, putting his arms around her and hugging her, but at the same time he's slipping something into her purse. He slipped something into her purse. Other people are watching the transaction very closely, including John Kelly, Chief of Staff of the White House, General Mattis, who was there. And it's also interesting that the McCain family was escorted to these public funerals by Mattis, by Kelly, by military people. And people say that this is because they're under military house arrest. So that's really what was going on, that John McCain did not die of a brain tumor, that he was suicided, that he was forced to commit suicide, and in return for that, ending it himself for all the things he'd been caught doing, that he was given this sort of presidential funeral and his family was allowed to go forward. Hi, Rochelle. So, allowed to go forward with their lives without consequences as to what he had done. And, you know, that would account for a lot of the Trump hatred because Trump was the one who enforced this military law on the McCain family for the things that John McCain had done. Now, normally I would say that's kind of crazy. I don't really buy that stuff. But the reality is, that's one of the few things that makes any sense because the amount of coverage given to a senator, a fucking senator, like McCain, was ridiculous. It was off scale high. It made no sense. It doesn't make sense in any other context except that maybe this is true, that there was some sort of deal cut, and in return for, you know, him offing himself, that McCain's family was taken care of and will not be persecuted and so on and so forth. And that would also explain all of the weird note passing and stuff that was going on at his funeral, which was quite extraordinary. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, but there was also another funeral going on at the same time or the day before. McCain had so many funerals, I can't keep track of them all. And it was Aretha Franklin's funeral, and there was this preacher who, first of all, Bill Clinton was sitting there oogling Ariana Grande as she was singing and looking. There's a meme out there, you know, find someone who looks at you the way Bill Clinton looks at Ariana Grande's ass. And then the preacher's feeling her up. He's grabbing her boobs, and she's trying to squirt and get away from him. It was like something out of, you know, the haunted house, the haunted houses you used to go to when you were 13 and 14 and try to grope the girls in line in front of you. It was ridiculous. It was adolescent. It was crazy, and that was kind of interesting too. Although I don't think it shows anything except that the, you know, these people are a bunch of pervs, okay? You know, all the people that went there. So that was kind of an interesting development, not having a lot to do necessarily with Q, but the organized attacks on Q, the ridiculous McCain funeral, the weird communications and note passing. I mean, something was going on there. Lindsey Graham was dropping some kind of message into Huma Abedin's purse to give to Hillary Clinton. I don't know what it was, but it means something. And it could mean very well that the walls are indeed closing in on the bad guys. I certainly hope so. So there were then some other developments that happened, which is that online, some of the posts that came up about JFK Jr. and Q, and him possibly being Q, there were more clues that came out. One of them is that there was this photograph that was posted of a ring. And the interesting thing about the ring is that it normally wouldn't really be anything of any particular interest. I'm going to post the picture right here. It's a ruby ring, gold ring, big ruby stone in the middle, and diamonds all around it. And the interesting thing about it is that it was considered to be part of the Jackie Kennedy collection, the Jackie Bouvier Kennedy collection. There was a company that was selling a bunch of replicas of her jewelry and rings for various prices, and this is one of them. And I've gone and I've looked on eBay, and I've actually found the posting for this particular ring. It does exist. There's Barkley. Thank you, Barkley. It does exist, and because of the connection to this company that was authorized to sell these duplicates of Jackie's jewelry, it appears to be an actual ring that Jackie Kennedy wore. Now, the fascinating thing about that is that people went back and looked at the pictures of the rallies where Vincent Fusca and the woman who looks like Carolyn Bessette Kennedy and the woman who looks like her sister, what's her name? Bessette, the sister, I forget her name, that were all at these rallies. And there's one shot, and I'm going to post this right now, of the woman who appears to be the spitting image of Carolyn Bessette Kennedy in her late 50s, wearing, I think no question, even though it's blurry and so forth, no question, wearing the same ring that was out of the Jackie Kennedy collection. Now, that to me is another hint. It's another big hint that, yes, this is something. Now, this really is something. There is something behind this story. Now, the question is that the same ring that Jackie had? Is that the real one? If that's the real ring, obviously it's intended as a message. She's actually wearing her mother-in-law's ruby ring that she wore during her time in the White House. Even if it's a duplicate, it could mean something, because again, they could be saying, hey, look at this, look at all these clues. I'm really Carolyn Bessette Kennedy. That's really John F. Kennedy Jr. And, you know, they appeared at 2 rallies, and I have to go back and look at the video again, but it appears to me that this is definitely a very strong hint. So that I find really, really fascinating. I'm going to kill that fucking dog, I swear to God. That I found really, really fascinating. But then it got even more interesting, because a couple of days later, there was a Twitter feed. A Twitter feed is called POTUS Schedule, President of the United States Schedule. I don't know that it's official, but it is a schedule of the President of the United States and shows pictures from all of his public appearances. Everything that's part of his public schedule is shown on this particular Twitter feed. And in the Twitter feed, they posted pictures of the President getting off, embarking, disembarking on Marine One. And in one of the shots of this, there was a kind of a long distance shot of Marine One. Marine One is the helicopter that the President uses to fly from the White House to, what's the Air Force base where Air Force One is kept? I don't remember. But basically flies from the White House to the Air Force base where he gets on Air Force One. And in this image, you don't see the President. What you do is you see a man in the window, in one of the windows above the landing gear of of Marine One that could be Trump, but he's wearing a tie and nobody really knows what's going on. What's in November? I'll tell you, Rochelle. Hang on. And in the opening of the door sits another man wearing a dark suit and a red tie who looks from a distance a lot like John F. Kennedy Jr. Now, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know if there's video of him coming off and on the helicopter. If there is, I have not seen it. There is pictures of another guy with Trump during the same trip wearing a red tie, but that's clearly not the same guy. He's got big, wide, womanly hips, and he's fat, and he's not the same guy as the guy in the red tie on board Marine One. And it's just interesting that it was posted on this website. I'm like, again, what's this supposed to be? What's the hint? Is this guy JFK Jr.? Is he now flying around with Donald Trump? Vincent Fusco, all cleaned up, now looking like JFK Jr. I don't know, but that was also really fascinating. And I think Andrews, thank you. I thought it was Andrews, but then I thought that was in California. Anyway, so this picture was really fascinating. And a bunch of people said, well, you know, where'd you get that from? It's like, it's not a fake picture. It comes from the POTUS scheduled Twitter feed. So go to the POTUS scheduled Twitter feed, look at all the pictures. And if somebody can find video, you know, showing that this guy was in this seat and he walks off the plane and he's not JFK Jr. and there's video of it or something, great. I'll take it. I'll accept the evidence, but I haven't found any yet. So I found that really, really intriguing and fascinating. So what I think is that there seems to be some growing critical mass around this thing. Now, the question of whether Q is real or not is a completely separate question as to whether or not JFK Jr. is alive and well, which I'm at this point convinced that he is, along with Carolyn Bessette Kennedy and the sister Lauren Bessette. So those are separate questions to my mind. This stuff is further evidence that something is going on. And again, keeping in mind that these people were placed in positions of prominence behind the president at these two rallies. This was all done with intent. Now, another thing that came up this week, which I think is really interesting and worth noting, is, you know, that it was the anniversary of 9/11. And with the anniversary of 9/11 comes the usual stuff about how planes didn't hit the Twin Towers. They were holograms, so they were taken down with sparklers, or they were taken down with particle beam weapons, and they fell in free fall speeds and all this other stuff. That's all nonsense. Okay, the fact is that the planes were 400,000-pound jetliners full of passengers and fuel flying at nearly 500 miles an hour that crashed into these two buildings, damaged the superstructure of them very badly, started fires that burned as hot as 2,300 degrees, weakened the steel beams, and with hundreds of thousands of tons of steel and concrete on them, above them, they just crashed down. Now, anybody, I'm posting the photos on Facebook in a separate feed, Michael. Now, people continue to say, well, then what about building number 7? I always get that. What about building number 7? It went down on its own. It did not go down on its own, okay? When WTC-1 collapsed, which was the second one to collapse, it flung debris for hundreds of yards around the footprint of WTC-1, as WTC-2 did. Furthermore, there was debris found 400, 500, 600 yards away from the impacts of the planes hitting the buildings. Okay, so this stuff is documented to have happened. The landing gear was found a couple of blocks over from one of the airplanes that hit WTC-2. And the bottom line is, what happened is when WTC-1 came down, very, very hot superheated debris hit the backside of WTC-7, World Trade Center 7, building number 7, tore a gash in it, and started fires which weakened the superstructure, and it collapsed from that. You can clearly see it collapses from that back corner first, and then the rest of the building comes down. There were no bombs, there was no demolition, it was debris. Now, you don't believe me? Well, there is a picture that I'm going to post here of debris that was found in a World Financial Center building, World Financial Center 3, which was actually across the street. It was actually further away from the two main World Trade Center buildings, Towers 1 and 2, than WTC-7 was, and there's a piece of debris, a gash that was torn in the side of that building from the impact event. So there was stuff flying all over the place around the World Trade Centers. They were taken down by 2 large jetliners that hit into them, and I'm just really tired of arguing with this with people. Anybody who doesn't believe that, give me a break, wake up. A bunch of pissed off Muslims flew airplanes into buildings. They caught on fire. They were heavily damaged, and they collapsed. They were doomed from the minute those planes hit them because the superstructure was damaged very, very badly. So then it comes to the final argument, which is the argument I always get into about the Pentagon. And again, people keep insisting, and Rochelle, I'm sorry if I make you mad here, that no plane hit the Pentagon, that it was hit by a missile, it must have been a cruise missile of some kind. There are videos all over YouTube. All you have to do is go search, 9/11 Pentagon eyewitness and start watching the videos, and there are literally dozens of them, of people describing the plane flying over their heads in the parking lot. Several of them say, oh, it was like a 757, which is exactly what it was. Flew over the parking lot, it clipped a light stanchion, and then crashed right into the side of the building. It was super low. That's exactly what the security video shows. That's exactly what the eyewitnesses saw. And these are not later witnesses. These are people actually being interviewed the day of with the Pentagon still burning and smoking in the background. And then people say that there's no debris. Well, first of all, there's not going to be a lot of debris because when a 757 going 300-400 miles an hour strikes a super reinforced steel concrete building, it's gonna pretty much disintegrate. Pieces are gonna come out. They're gonna be small pieces. That's all that's gonna be left. Yet there are photographs of plenty of airplane pieces, and these are all individual photos. And the thing is, again, you can go to the official report of what happened at the Pentagon, and you can pull this stuff up. And you can see these pictures of debris. And I mean, I'm an aerospace engineer. I worked on a 757. I might have even designed or drawn up some of these pieces. These are airplane pieces, and they're all in the Pentagon. There's pieces of the American Airlines logo from the top of the fuselage scattered out on the grass. So I don't know what people are talking about when they say there's no debris. There is debris everywhere, and there's lots of pictures of that debris. So again, look it up. Go back, watch the As It Happened videos. You can even see pieces of debris on the ground. An airplane hit the Pentagon. Airplanes hit the Twin Towers. That's what brought them all down, including building number 7. So let's get past this, okay, folks? Because this stuff is just nonsense, and it makes us look like idiots. It almost makes us look as dumb as the Stanley Kubrick film, The Moon Landing stuff. If we're going to be conspiracy theorists, let's be conspiracy theorists about the parts of this that really matter. Like, how about why 9/11 happened? How about the fact that the U.S. is in international bankruptcy and has been in international bankruptcy since 1789? And international bankruptcy has a term of 70 years. And every 70 years, since 1789, when the Constitution was signed, there's been some major event which has changed the United States financial system dramatically. Like 1859, when we had the Civil War, when the South refused to pay the North's war debts. So a war broke out. How about 1929, when the stock market crashed and we brought in fiat currencies and got rid of all the gold? And then how about 70 years after that, in 1999, when suddenly we had a budget surplus and then we had 9/11, which completely put the U.S. on a war footing and changed everything about what was happening financially. This was part of the plan on how to do the financial restructuring, and that plan is not over with yet. Okay, it's been changed since the election of Donald Trump, but it's not over with. Now, Rochelle, you asked me earlier about November, and I keep hearing things about November. I've been hearing about November for quite a while. I'm not going to tell you what it is, except that I hear there's going to be a major financial event in November. So what exactly that means, I know, but I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to say, plan accordingly, okay? Make sure you have food and water for a few weeks. Make sure you have a gun to defend yourself. Make sure that you can get by without any government assistance for a while, because there could be a lot of stuff going on. There could be riots in the streets. There could be some form of martial law imposed very temporarily. There could be a restoration of the original republic. There could be all kinds of things. There could also be political discourse. If the stuff that we see going on around Q and going on around the political corruption and the swamp in DC is any indication, something big appears to be brewing, and it may very well happen over these next few months. And I've told you guys this before. Be cautious, be careful. There's this Sunspot Solar Observatory, something weird going on there. So I don't know exactly what the event is. I have a suspicion. I'm not going to share that with you. I'm just going to say be prepared. That's my advice. So to wrap this all up, I just wanted to give you an update on all this stuff. It was the JFK Jr. stuff continues to evolve. It appears that Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, or the woman who looks exactly like her, was wearing a ring that is a Jackie Kennedy collection ring, which, think about this, even if this woman was just somebody who looked like Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, just by coincidence, wasn't really associated with Vincent Fusco, who looks exactly like JFK Jr. at 58, was just there randomly. Is it also possible that randomly she's wearing a ruby ring that is an identical match to a ring that Jackie Kennedy apparently owned and wore? I'll give you the answer. The answer is no. That's not possible. We are stretching the limits of coincidences now to a ridiculous level. But at this point, what I can say is I remain more solid that JFK Jr. is still alive, and that this guy that we've seen is him, that Carolyn Bessette Kennedy is still alive, that it may have some connection to the Q phenomenon, and that the McCain funeral and the political stuff that went on around that, the message passaging, is an indication that something is brewing underneath the ground. Let's hope it's all comfortable. Let's hope it all works out well, and nobody has any big issues. Now, will I be talking about this stuff? Yes, I will be talking about this stuff at Disclosure Con in Pine Top, Arizona on October 5th and 6th, which is taking place at a casino there. I forget the name of the casino. Anyway, look on Facebook for Disclosure Con. Get your tickets. Come on out to Pine Top, Arizona. We're going to have a really good time. It's a first-time event, but it's organized by a really great guy named Doc Skinner, who I think is really sharp and is going to do really cool events. So I'm looking forward to doing that with him. And then I will be at Alien Con in November, theoretically. Alien Con's in Baltimore. It's November 11th through 13th, I think it is. And it's going to be another huge Alien Con event. I guess Giorgio just finally signed up today. And it looks like everything's going to go forward with that. So I'm really looking forward to these two events coming up in the next couple months. In the meantime, I'm working on a new project, which I can't tell you about. I got paid for it, but I can't tell you about it. And you should all go out and pick up Ancient Aliens and JFK. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a Vincent Fusco chapter to the book. So for the next printing, it'll be in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down all my thoughts, everything I know about the Fusco JFK Q thing. I'm going to put all the stuff I've been giving you on video into like an extra chapter or an epilogue, and I'll post it on my blog, mikebera.blogspot.com, so you guys can read that, or you could get a new copy of the new book when it comes out. Because I'm going to add this stuff to it because I think it's relevant. I think that what happened with President Kennedy is more relevant than it's ever been. So, all right, that's it, guys. I love you. Thanks for chiming in. I'm sorry if I piss people off, but I'm so sick of we faked the moon landings, 9/11 was not just planes hitting buildings shit, that I can't take it anymore. So let's go forward. Let's not be stupid. Let's not be imbeciles. Let's be smart. Let's listen to Mike, because Mike knows what he's talking about. He's got a good brain. And let's all connect on the things we can connect about. Okay? Love you guys. See you later. Thanks. Bye.